Welcome back, my friends, for another episode of your weekly roar. Folks, I don't know if you know this, but you've been with us closing in on our first year. So I want to say this is we're getting closer to our 30th episode real soon. And with a couple weeks off here and there, this Your Weekly Roar has been growing. Also, hope you've seen the growth in our topics. From Roar and Fierce Labs, we've been really going after some key conversations for the future blockchain, Web3, AI, decentralized storage, and more. And so we're rolling out white papers, one right after the other. And with that said, on the heels or actually out in front of a white paper that's coming your way on the AI space, one of the first of probably four, we're doing this podcast today. So, um, guys, it's a little different again. I'll say this that this is definitely a stretch for us to get out in front of something and go the opposite direction of where most development and market is going. But we feel like we need to weigh in at this point. We've been in this work for many years. I've been doing it since the early days, just toying around with Google stuff when it was just TensorFlow and some TaxaNet and all these different AI startups back then. I want to say that IBM threw out Watson. I mean, all those early days, I was jumping in and seeing what I could get into in Google Labs or wherever else just to learn and just to grow. And so as I started learning about LLMs and more, I fell in love, saw where it was going, threw some stuff that was code in the safe, saved it for later. And of course, as it synergized with what we're doing for the last 4 and 5 years in Roar, recognized over the last no, it's been 3 years, Brandon, 3 years that we had to bring in what we're doing. So we've been a long time in this, a lot longer than this conversation seems. It's going to pop out of nowhere. We've only been talking about AI in relation to blockchain in the last year and a half, 2 years, and how we're programming AI, training it, giving it rails with blockchain technology and NFTs and that kind of stuff, which is really cool. You're able to give a personality or whatever, but this is something deeper. We're digging into the philosophies behind where AI is going, the compute, and everything else. And so, with that said, this podcast is a little out of nowhere, but it's not out of nowhere. It's come from a lot of research and thought, whatever. And Brandon and I are going to go through this. Of course, I'm your other host, Dustin. And this topic is AI's building power plants, and we're building a network with Fierce Labs. And so we are right in the center of AI development with our own LLMs, and you'll hear very soon SLMs. And we want to dig into a philosophy that we feel like everyone could actually, gain value from. And so, with that said, I want to pass off to one of my best friends in the world, Brandon Billings. And so, Brandon, jump in. Let's do this thing.
All right, Dustin. So I'm just going to say it. Every AI company on earth is racing to build bigger models, bigger data centers, bigger everything. And you're over here saying that that's wrong.
That's not just wrong, friend. That is dangerously short sighted.
Yeah. So we're coming in hot today, guys. Uh,
Good, we should be. Here's the thing. What's happening right now isn't just AI innovation, it's infrastructure escalation. And you guys, it's starting to hit my backyard. I don't know if you're having one of these big old data centers built on your lovely waterways where you've got protected animals living, but it's hitting our areas in the worst ways possible. So we're literally building industrial scale intelligence factories, which is ridiculous, especially when you think about folks like Carver Mead and others that say at some point we're going to top out what compute even can do when it comes to the current physical setup of a chip that we have, or GPUs or CPUs. So we're inching this out to get something that's basically only 1/3 of the compute power of a human brain. Whole
wow,
factories.
that sounds dramatic.
Well, it should. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Here's why. Trillion parameter models don't just run in the cloud. They've got to run in gigawatt data centers. They consume massive water supplies, folks. They depend on rare earth extraction. They reshape energy grids. This is not software scaling. This is ecological scaling. Someone has to come up with a better idea. So it's going to keep growing until someone says, stop, time out. Does this make sense? We're getting less return for all of this build, and we've exploited the environment. At the end of the day, guys, let's just put it this way. It's going to hit your energy bill. It's going to hit your water bill. It's going to hit your environment. Your backyard will be eat up by what's coming. We've been doing the math on where we have to go based on current systems, solutions, software, builds, infrastructure, and more. And it ain't good, friends. It ain't good.
All right, Dustin. So let's break this down. What's the real problem?
We're in an AI arms race,
Mhm.
and the AI arms race is simple. The idea is more parameters, more GPUs, more power. And if your model isn't bigger than mine, you lose.
So it's like nuclear escalation, but for compute.
Yeah, man, I feel like we're like drawing from the Reagan era and the 80s, but it is exactly, except instead of uranium, it's GPUs and water. And let's be clear. Also, rare earths are involved in this because that's what these semiconductors and everything are built out of. You know, you got gold and everything else in there. So, hello, friends, this is not just an infrastructure situation, but in America in the long run, you're actually talking about something that affects the very safety and security of our nation. We now have data centers that consume as much electricity as small cities. There are places on the planet that still don't have electricity. I go to those places. I've stayed in mud huts. I've worked with people that don't have electricity. I've worked with people that are using even hybrid solutions to get some kind of grid set up. I've been in the far reaches of Africa, Asia. I've been in jungles. I've been in South America. I have been these places, places where people don't have much. And while they're still not even in the now world, we're using up so much electricity with a data center that it compares with a small city in America. This is ridiculous. Cooling systems, they're burning through billions of gallons of water annually. And we're pretending this is just software progress. You know, Congress is worried more about the idea that AI will take over and create a Skynet and we're going to have the Terminator. And really, the big problem isn't even all that. We're missing it. It's the impact if we don't stop on our environment and more. And I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a steward. I care about my kids and their kids and on in generations. And this is not sustainable. If the trajectory with the systems and the solutions we have, it's not sustainable. However, there is a way to re-see that.
Yeah, so AI isn't just reshaping the internet, it's reshaping physical infrastructure.
Brother, it is. I mean, every time someone generates an image that's in that cloud, the compute resources they're using are like hundreds of times more than a human being would use to create a graphic.
Mhm.
Great. You save time and you cut a graphic designer out of your work. Good for you. But at what cost?
Mhm.
We got to ask that. And if this continues for 30 to 50 years on this trajectory, you don't get smarter AI. You get AI oligopolies that are controlling energy, compute, and access. And believe me, it's already going on because we got guys trying to get the Congress saying, we need to stop everyone else small out there with AIs because they're going to create a bad one. It's got agency and it's going to terminate us. And that is bullcrap. I've said over and over that AI is not smart enough to be creative on its own. And I mean it. I mean it. I challenge someone to show me where it has had any kind of cognizance, it is conscious of itself, it's self aware, or creative. It has only been able to do what creators, oracles that are humans, are impacting in it. And so, no, worry less about Terminator agency, where it's showing some level of awareness. I call, I won't even say a name. I want to say, well, I'll call Anthropic and Cloud on the carpet, OpenAI, whoever, the doomsayers. I call them on the carpet because all they're trying to do is cut out the smaller players. And if you do that in 30 to 50 years, you won't have that smarter AI. You're going to have dumber AI and less environment, and you're going to regret it.
Wow. So what's the alternative? You can't just slow down AI in its development.
No, we do not slow it down. So people in their brains, they think just because we start asking, should we do something, it means we're going to run a lot slower because we're not doing what we can do. So we're not just asking, can we do it and sprinting. What we're doing is asking, should we do it? And then sprinting. So the sprint is after the right direction. Let me tell you something. 1 degree, 1 degree off in trajectory on a ship in the ocean is a massive problem whenever they're traveling from the far reaches of one continent to another. The difference can be massive. Leaving Asia, coming to the US, thinking that you're going to Tijuana, Mexico, or whatever, some port off the edge of Mexico, and ending up in Washington State because you're 1 degree off when you started. See, here's the problem. We're not 1 degree off. We're 100 degrees off in AI. Slow down and rethink to change the trajectory because we're not going to end up where we want. We're not using the mindset that even folks like Stephen Covey have called out for years. Carnegie, Covey, and others, some of the greatest thinkers, have said that you start with the end in mind. So we need to start with the end in mind and go backwards from that and get that trajectory right in the first place. And so I'm saying time out, pause in the conversation. Let's reframe the trajectory and get it right here. My kids are going to pay this price. And so I get tired of owners of businesses and government that have no kids because they don't have a stake in this. I've got kids, man, and my kids, grandkids, and on are going to have to pay the price for the lack of stewardship right here. So we don't slow it down. We flip it and then we run. Instead of building one giant brain in a warehouse, I mean, seriously, the warehouses have what, 33% of the compute of a human brain? Great job. You got 1/3 of a human and you're draining our resources on the planet. Way to go, big Google. Way to go, big Meta, Facebook, whatever. Way to go, Anthropic and Cloud. Great job. You got 1/3 of a human brain. You replaced a bunch of workforce. You've screwed an economy, and yet you're going to deplete all the resources and say that it's progress? My gosh. Come on, let's get half a brain. So let's build millions or billions of smaller brains everywhere.
Well, I think that's starting to push past the philosophical. Why don't you tell us what this actually means?
It's a quiet revolution in AI, and I've been talking about it for a while. I talked at it at a COSM this last fall, just a little bit. I just put inklings out there. I'm out under some pseudonyms on X.com. Yes, I do that. And I just mess with conversations because it's fun. I like to figure out what people are thinking and doing. And I've been feeding this conversation, this idea that there could be a quiet revolution in AI development. And it would mean instead of LLMs, which are large language models, we start thinking about small language models, not trillion parameter monsters. Models that are like 500 million to 7 billion parameters that are highly specialized, highly efficient, laser focused. I mean, stuff that doesn't take up data centers. It takes up like 3 to 7 gigs of space. So working in my space, I see the size of models because I'm having to work with them in the local. We're building an AI in our rural world. We're building localized versions of AI that we can run on a cell phone. I've said that for a year now, and I mean it. We ran AI on bare metal rails on Apple literal laptops, the last versions before Apple said, hey, we built stuff in there that allow you to do this. We were running on it before they did it, which is kind of how we roll. So we want these models to be highly specialized, highly efficient, and laser focused. And then they actually become that one smart, chunk of brain out there that others can call on
So you're saying they wouldn't know everything, but they would know one thing extremely well.
extremely well. Stop trying to make AI self aware and start using AI where it's very powerful. AI is the one of the most powerful human replicating things that can replicate how a human thinks similarly. It is incredible at learning. It's incredible at storing information, and the algorithms allow it to communicate the way the data store works. It can pull information and reconstitute it. Can it create? No. So why are we trying for that? Why is that what we're after? Why is the goal to create something that's self-aware and has its own human-like agency? Why aren't we utilizing these things for what they're really great at? And those SLMs, they don't need a trillion parameter model to audit a smart contract. You don't need it to analyze DeFi risk. You don't need it to manage storage allocation. You need precision. I'm often having to dumb down models that I'm using from other LLMs. I have to dumb them down and focus them in applications I build. There's a lot of applications we have not released yet. And we are in the process of releasing this year that take not just our model, but other models that are out there that are LLMs or SLMs or hybrids. And we focus them on just one thing. And this is where it's become magic because we can size those things down and get them really smart. These things can create precision. And that's important when you're dealing with models out there that are honestly biased. You can cut out bias with some of the things we've built and how we're doing it. And here's the kicker. SLMs, small language models, can use 10 to 100 times less energy in this process. Think about that. And it just makes sense. Instead of running through every eventuality to come back to that one precise thing you want, it's going already scaled down and it's getting even more precise. So, I mean, there you go.
That's amazing, Dustin. I would say that's not even an incremental change, but that's literally a disruptive way of thinking about it.
That's it. That's it. And we've always thought this way with stuff we've built. Because when you build on a shoestring and you don't have big VC investment and you build with limited teams and you build where people have to be really critical and they know that this is make it or break it, you get really smart at how to make things work better for you. And that's what we do. Like we really do that well with Fierce Labs and Roar. And it is disruptive. And not only that, SLMs can run on edge hardware, on consumer GPUs, on distributed nodes, on a Google cell phone. Don't tell me it can't because I've done it. I'm telling you, it's amazing. That means we stop building AIs like skyscrapers and start building them like neighborhoods.
Mm. Well, let's talk about what nobody wants to talk about, and that's the environmental cost.
Well, I mean, if we continue this trajectory, exponential GPU production, rare earth mining expansion, water depletion and drought zones, grid instability already being proven. Let's not even get into the fact that everyone has a data center nearby is talking about the fact that their water bill and their utility bill go up, up, up. So grid instability, land conversion, which really bothers me, having grown up on a farm and understanding food supply, we could literally see AI infrastructure rival aviation emissions long term. And I'm saying long term here, but the truth is that's conservative. I'm talking about it's really short term, less than 30 years. I'm just saying from the math we're seeing and the sheer push for big, big, big centralized, that's what we're seeing.
That's amazing.
It's unnecessary because distributed SLM architecture changes the equation. Lower power density, smaller clusters, passive cooling, idle hardware use. There are some amazing Web3 guys out there already sharing their processing power. I've been a part of it, sharing processing power to universities, GPUs and CPUs on unused hardware that they just have plugged in that's asleep for the most part, running in the background so that the universities can use their LLMs and algorithms and more to come up with things, for instance, like solving AIDS and cancer research. So, using idle hardware across a lot of folks that are participants, shifting workloads to renewable heavy regions instead of megawatt campuses. We're going to get, instead of those big, massive megawatt campuses, We're going to get microwatt participation.
Wow. Um, so this is where people get skeptical. You're going to say blockchain fixes this?
Yeah, now I'm going to scare everybody off real quick. Um, blockchain, Web3, crypto. There it is. Run for your life. No, actually, our belief at Fierce Labs and Roar is that blockchain, crypto, Web3 has been long something that people pumped and dumped or whatever. We built in here forever. We've invested. We've been in other projects, and let's just be really honest. A lot of it has been solutions looking for problems. I've said that for years, plural. However, if we stop, just put all that on the shelf, and let's not call it blockchain, crypto, whatever, and let's call it Web3. And just from our last podcast, we talked about the fact that Web 2 could really benefit from Web 3's rails. So if we built this in a rail world, in whether it's blockchain or whatever you want to call it, hybrid LimeWire, Napster, whatever, P2P, something similar, but that pays people back for being participants, which is the Web3 idea. Decentralized storage, decentralized compute with a benefit to the participants for using micro amounts of their machines, their storage, their GPU, their CPU. If you see it like that instead of blockchain, crypto, whatever, if you see it as decentralized compute and storage, which is what we're talking about, with a return for the participants, you can see that this could actually coordinate it. There's a difference. If millions of people are contributing storage and compute through a Web3 model that AI is built into, well, you already need verifiable accounting, performance tracking, and trustless reward systems. And that's what Web3 is good at. You get it? So that is really some of the core logic of Web3.
So this goes beyond speculation. It's really about coordination.
Yeah, exactly. It's where systems and ecosystems like Roar come into play. And we're actually going to prove it because we're already building it. I hate putting stuff out there and giving people an edge on us, but I just felt like the conversation's gone so fast and so far that if we didn't stake a marker in the dirt and put up a flag somewhere and call it out before we kept going, that either legislature or some global elite body or oligarchs or something are going to control the narrative, and we're going to be on a collision course with an eventuality that we believe is absolutely changeable right here, right now.
All right, Dustin. So how does Roar fit into this?
Well, Roar isn't about chasing trillion parameter vanity metrics. Yeah, I called that out. So yeah, I'm being ugly on this. I can be. I don't have a pony in the parade that you can see. So who's going to pick on me, right? I don't matter. But what we have under hood does. We're building distributed infrastructure, edge native intelligence, decentralized coordination layers, tokenized incentive systems. And we've been here for 5 years doing it. We kind of got a good idea what we're doing, let alone all the years prior from my early days in Bitcoin going back to 2010, I think it was. And then beyond that in social media and platforms that go all the way back to Zanga. And yes, that's at the turn of the last century, my friends. I've been here a minute. I've been in Web 1, Web 2, and now Web 3. And so we have a touch on all of this. It's a little bit different from others. I don't know how many others, when they went to college, got to mess with the ARPANET, but I'm just saying we have a different view on things because we've been here a minute. So we get some of this infrastructure, things that can change, coordination layers, tokenized incentive systems, distributed infrastructure, edge native intelligence. Our vision of decentralized storage, compute participation, and SLM orchestration is not theoretical. I got like 4 white papers to chase this in a minute. After this one, we've been building towards this logic for a long time. We've been moving here the whole time. It's been in our roadmap for our 10-year plan, and we just ain't told nobody about it until now. So that's the direction the industry has to move to if it wants to survive long term. I'm just saying, if we don't want to become the Matrix or Skynet or others, then we probably want to move this way. And I still don't believe in that kind of agency and creativity at that level. I'm just making fun of everyone out there because we may not be in a place where AI takes over and puts humans as servants, but we definitely are going to be at a place where we've used up all of our ecological resources, our beautiful beaches, waterways, our animals, our plants, our communities, our fresh water, our open land, our agrarian society, and the fact that America represents 25% of the production of all the food on the planet, and we're buying up farms to turn into data centers, which pisses me off. Mm. That's what
I
we have to
would
do to survive long term.
I would say, how do you really feel about it? But I think
Mm.
we know. Um, so Roar is not just building another hyperscale facility, right? We're building a mesh.
Exactly. So, horizontal intelligence layer, not vertical concentration. I've been against centralization since the beginning. It's in our white paper we just launched even a few weeks ago, but it predates that because it's core for Web3 values from the beginning. From the early days of Bitcoin's white paper, that has been the bad guy, centralization. And so we're just not about that vertical concentration. We are about a horizontal intelligence layer. I think everyone should play nice with each other in smaller chunks that are well positioned. We've already got leaders in specific kinds of AI. Then why don't you stop trying to fight with each other and collaborate and then allow other participation through meshes? Why not have your idiot savants all over the place that only know one thing and then offload processing between like a mesh? We already think about mesh with IoT connecting services like Amazon Sidewalk. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that that works. But why are we not doing in the same kind of thinking this with the processing for AI or more? We got to end the vertical concentration. We got to end the centralization. We've got to end the obliteration of our natural resources, our communities, our utilities, our grids, and get back to the idea that there could be a democratization of all of it and recognize as well, even in that, Web3 has a better solution for making sure things are not biased. They are censorship resistant and they have the right rails and firewalls. We can build those into a blockchain and they are ledgerized. And I've taught everyone, I'm the first one I know of that's done it, that you can take an AI model and train it to communicate with an individual holding an NFT on a wallet as if it's that personality and do things specific to it. I have done that and made it so it can learn back with itself with some of the biggest models out there. And you guys, if you're at one of those biggest models, you've probably seen some of my work. I'm just saying that my friends, we've been doing this whether you knew who we were or not. We've been on the front end of it, and I'm telling you, it works. We're not talking about theory, we're talking about function.
All right, Yoda, paint the big picture, show us the way of the Jedi.
Jedi ways is what we're about here. Okay, let's paint the big picture. Imagine this. Millions of participants worldwide. Some provide storage, some provide inference, some host specialized SLMs, some verify results. All of them are willing participants. That's key. Blockchain tracks performance and rewards fairly. We can call it something else if you don't like the name. A ledger that's time stamping activity that keeps everybody honest. It's kind of a proof of what is verifiably true, right? Compute routes dynamically to renewable heavy grids. Idle GPUs become more productive, and older hardware gets extended life.
I'm just processing what you just said. That's it's pretty brilliant. What that means is, instead of Amazon building 100 new mega facilities, 10 million people participate in AI infrastructure.
You know, that's the shift. It's from centralized dominance to distributed intelligence. Now, the problem here is, no offense to you AI developers out there, um, I'd say that um, there's probably well, I'll just say it straight up. I think there's a real lack of humility. So I don't see a lot of them saying to their boards and their teams, hey, how about we share? You know, in kindergarten, we learn that sharing is caring, and we learn to keep our hands to ourselves And yet these guys are grabbing each other's technologies and lying about it and then fighting over who said what and did what first. And then running to Congress and going, stop them. They're trying to do something bad. And you guys, you sound like you need to go back to kindergarten. And then if you really want to get in there, there's a lot of you that say you're nonprofit-y, but you're really profit-y because you got shareholders and VCs and everything else, and your humility is at an all-time low, and you think that you're the only one that can get us there. Good for you. My belief is that there are a million geniuses out there, and that we need to even decentralize the land claim to genius status in AI and allow everyone to be a part of distributed intelligence. It's safer, it's better, it's more humble, and in the long run, I want to just put out there, it can use older technology and more. Think about what this could do for economies. So you're over in Africa somewhere, or let's say Greenland. It's cold there. That's good for compute, right? So you don't even need to have coolers. You've got an ice land mass. And you're over there, and we're hearing about how they've been challenged with finance because Denmark ain't doing right and the US is involved. I got nothing to say about that except wouldn't it be great if they could just run some old computer hardware in a super cold environment and get resources because they're paid to share their GPU, CPU? People in mud huts with, a solar panel and cellular signal can actually be a participant in the stuff we're building and be a part of compute, sharing the load across everywhere, but also democratizing the control and the status, as well as financing economies that would have never gotten a touch any part of big infrastructure or money in this space. Guys, this is a different kind of thinking.
Yeah, this makes me think of that quote, a rising tide raises all ships, right? When everybody participates, it's beneficial to everyone. It's amazing. So, Dustin, let's take a look. We're at that dramatic fork in the road then, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to do this podcast. I didn't want to do this call. I'm way ahead of where I want to be with the other white papers. So I took them, ripped them apart, made another white paper on this, and then and none of them are out. And then we've turned it into this conversation podcast, and I really didn't want to do it. But I'm running out of time. I've been in this long enough to realize that there's some deadlines on stewardship. Someone has to get out here and say this. Somebody has to have the conversation, or at least start the narrative, or at least open up for a forum of discussion. And if that means somebody beats us to the punch and they build better than us or whatever, great. Then I've just saved my kids' problems. I would love to be the beneficiary and my community be the beneficiary of all of what we're talking about here, as well as all the build we're doing. But if somebody beats me there and it saves my backyard so that I'm not overtaken by a data center, God bless them, go for it. So that's why we're doing this. And it's because we see these two futures. There's a fork in the road, and there's future A, and it's mega data centers dominate, AI monopolies control access, governments can turn things on and off with censorship, environmental pressures escalate, energy grids will be strained, and then corporate concentration will intensify. With that comes all kinds of things. Like I said, censorship, bias, control, and worse. Then there's future B, specialized SLM mesh networks, which in a sense can be firewalled, controlled, and made with breakers so they can be turned off. Community nodes, blockchain coordination of some sort, storage, decentralized storage coordination, whatever. Lower environmental footprint, distributed revenue, and global participation.
Wow. So one future centralizes power, the other decentralizes intelligence.
Exactly. In over 50 years, what's the result? The environmental difference could mean gigatons of carbon dioxide. For folks that care about that, that's massive. The economic difference could mean trillions redistributed instead of consolidated. So trillions redistributed. Oh, I can't talk. Redistributed. There goes my southern. Instead of consolidated. And so I mean, that economic impact for anyone participating in countries that are open to it, it'd be massive. Folks that have minimal hardware, a cell phone or more, a Raspberry Pi or more, can participate at some level in the layers of these systems. That's what we're building, and that's where we're going.
That's amazing, Dustin. So the current AI industry is building bigger buildings, and you're saying the future is actually to build a bigger network.
Yeah, we don't need bigger models and bigger warehouses. We need smaller intelligence everywhere.
So AI doesn't scale by becoming gigantic, it scales by becoming distributed.
The more and more distributed, the better. And that's it. That really is the core. We build larger impact by building smaller systems together. We always say we're better together. Both sides of the aisle in Congress will say we're better together, but how do they act? Here's the truth. In this, we are better together. Somebody's got to say it out loud. Somebody needs to encourage everyone to at least take a look at it. Elon, at least think about the fact that you could offload, and I've said this over and over for the last year, you could offload process power from your centralized data center for your XAI. You could offload it to the cyber trucks that aren't being used. You got a whole fleet out there somewhere, or even run in the background. If you've already got the AI in them, why isn't it running in the background, utilizing some of the compute power back to the grid of all of them? I mean, it could be a part of the agreement when you get one. Why not? I'm telling you, it's a whole different thinking and it would have a bigger impact and better results. So we build bigger by building smaller.
Yeah. So that's not anti-progress, it's just a better way of thinking about it.
It's smarter progress. And if we don't shift, I told you about that being a degree off on a ship when you start that journey across the ocean can throw you off on a whole different place on the planet than you were meaning to go. If we don't shift now, AI becomes another centralized industrial complex. I'm calling it now. And let's be honest, others have called it before me. Don't read Isaac Asimov. You don't be scared out of your wits. I've read almost everything the man's written on purpose. AI becomes that centralized industrial complex. And if we do this, if we do shift, it's going to become a global mesh of intelligence instead.
Mm. Horizontal, not vertical.
And decentralized, not concentrated.
So we need to build smaller.
Yep, there it is. To build bigger. That's it. That's it.
Brilliant.
And brother, thanks for being on today. Folks, thanks for listening. Um, we did not want to be the bearer of this news, but if no one else is going to say it, we're going to roar about it. Thanks for being on your weekly roar. Know that this does mean there is a white paper incoming. And so over the next week, you'll see it publicized or whatever through our channels. And as well, we're also giving you a sneak peek into what's being developed and already either at market that we're in alpha testing on with our initial alpha partners, or we're leaning into bringing into beta for you to use. It's time. We're here, and you're going to hear more and more about it. So thanks for being on. Be sure to follow us in all the places you find us, whether it's X, YouTube, Rumble, or others. And then stay connected, guys. There's so much news coming out. March is based. April's got another one. April's going to be hot. We've got slogans for each one. You're going to want to be a part of it all the way through the rest of this year. It's going to get funner. Brandon, thanks for being on. Everybody, thanks for joining with us. Y'all have a great one.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.